Appreciate you guys joining in. We've got a huge panel right now. We've got Ryan Dawson, Larry Johnson, Anthony Aguilar. Huge news right now, which is that Israel has struck Iran in a number of regions, a number of areas, significant escalation, bombings in Tehran, Shiraz, the two airports, Mehrabad airport. There were some reports that Iran is retaliating. We saw some alerts in Saudi Arabia, 2 alerts. Apparently, some missiles were sent in Saudi Arabia. In addition to that, we also had reports that there was a missile fired towards Israel again, but that missile was by the Yemeni, the Ansarullah. So that's kind of the latest news. Obviously, we'll continue to give you the news as and when we receive it, because I am seeing reports that there may have been now missiles launched. Actually, right now there's missiles launched from Iran right now as well. So that's the latest news. Obviously, we'll continue to give it as and when we receive it. I mean, where should we start? Let's. Who wants to jump in first? Let's go with Ryan first, because we've not heard. I've heard Larry and Anthony. Ryan, what's your thoughts about what's happened up to now?
This is very predictable. We saw this coming. And I told you, Netanyahu, they have they think God's a real estate agent. It was promised to him 3,000 years ago, and he's going to start the war. America be damned. I know from a rational point of view, you say, why would they do this? They're going to lose. They're not rational. They're arrogant. That's the problem. But, it's kind of like a victim of his own success. He got his war in Iraq. He got Al-Qaeda in Syria. He was able to assassinate people at will, kill scientists, the pager attack, and so on. So he thought this is the next one on his list, literally on his script, from the infamous when Franks came down from the Pentagon with the list of countries they wanted to take over. But the reality is Israel can't take on Iran, and now Saudi Arabia is being smacked. Israel's getting hit in the north and the south at the same time. And so far, the U.S. is sitting on the sideline. That's the most interesting part.
Yeah. Larry, what's your thoughts on what's been happening since the hour ago since I saw you?
Yeah, I'll use the same line I used a little earlier. I object to sharing the screen with Anthony and Ryan. I have a rule: you don't want people who are better looking and smarter than you on while you're on. So anyway, it's good to see.
Solomon, you're saying? What are you saying?
Is it Ryan's beautiful blonde locks?
Yeah,
I tried to out loud Larry's shirt.
He's on with you all the time, Sully.
No, good try. We just got to get Anthony into the club, So, yeah, he still looks professional. But I just say, Anthony, I've been a big admirer of you. You've learned the lesson: no good deed goes unpunished. So, look, the news that Pepe and I broke a week ago, that there was, with Pakistan playing a leading role, the Pacs were convinced that they were going to have a signing of the Islamabad Accord soon, that it was going to be Iran and the United States. And that was the reason that Iran dropped that threat that they were prepared to detonate, do a demonstration nuke, detonate it, to show that, okay, we got it now. They haven't had it up to this point. And I'm not here claiming they do or they don't. I'm simply reporting that the source, when Pakistan, well placed. The fact now that what the events of the last less than 24 hours have shown is that Trump remains pretty motivated about some possible deal that he thought he was going to get signed this week. Now, whether he was confabulating on that about Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday is not the point. With confabulation, they believe things are true even if they're false. But Trump really appeared to believe that. And we got to go back and look at 2 other events that are not just coincidental. The leak to the New York Times about Israel intensifying its spying on Americans. I looked at that as, they published a story. A dog licks his own balls. Okay, yeah, that's what dogs do. And that's what Israel has been doing. They've been spying on us forever. 2 words: Jonathan Pollard. But there was a reason that was leaked, and apparently that information had been out earlier, and I think it was designed to put pressure on Israel. because they knew that Israel was going to be a problem here. And then what does Netanyahu do? After Iran has made very clear warnings that if you hit Beirut and the suburbs, Dahia, we're going to come get you, and we're gonna attack. Get your people out of northern occupied Palestine, which is North Israel, because we're going to hit it. And so Israel launched what it wasn't really a massive attack. It was almost like, oh, you're claiming that you got 4 aces? Okay, here. And they hit Dahia, and the Iranians turn around and say, yeah, we got 4 aces. Boom, missiles launched.
Straight.
This was designed to sabotage whatever peace agreement was upcoming. And what did Trump do? Did he announce an outrage? No, he said, well, these guys tit for tat, call it off then. And supposedly told Netanyahu, well, if you want to attack, you're on your own. We're out. Go. You do what you guys think you might need to do. And so, as Ryan correctly noted, in my experience working with Israelis, they are the most arrogant group of pricks that I have ever dealt with. They know it all, and even when they do things that are, something as simple as how to carry a loaded pistol, they don't carry a loaded pistol because their training's so crappy. They're afraid that their guys are so undertrained they'll put their finger on the trigger and shoot themselves in the leg. So it's just one illustrative example. But now you remember the other thing that the IRGC said after that story that Pepe and I broke. The other thing the IRGC spokesman came out and said, if you continue attacking Beirut, we're going to get you, and we're going to close the strait, the Mandab, Bab el Mandab. We're going to close that. Gee, what happened about 30 minutes ago? Yemen launched a missile. Yemen's in the game now. They said, okay. And I bet you that follows up with Bab el Mandab being closed.
Yeah, totally agree. Anthony, do you want to add to that? Anything you want to add?
I concur entirely with Ryan, his first statement of predictable. This has been predictable almost to the letter. For anyone that's looking at this objectively and reasonably can see, well, this is the next organic step or escalation. This is how this is going to go. And then as Larry lined out, the latest that we're now seeing where Ansar Allah has allegedly, but most likely, fired into Israel, bringing them into this. And something that we talked about probably about 2 weeks ago, Sully, was that the for me, what would be an indicator and warning for me is if we see Ansar Allah being brought into this directly, not just doing their task, their supporting effort in Bab el-Mandab, but also getting involved directly in strikes against Israel, that would be a clear indicator for me that we've gone from limited war to restricted war into unlimited war. We're now at that level. This is a new war. This is not your grandpa's Operation Epic Fury. This is a new war. And where this brings us now into a whole nother level of escalation of what we can see each escalation bring, especially when we talk about what Ansar Allah can do to Bab el-Mandab and the impact to that globally. But then the levers and the pressure from Hezbollah, potentially, if I was raising up the resistance and saying, come on, boys, we're all in, I'd get Hamas geared up to start punishing Israel from inside the fifth column or the interior alliance. I think that's coming, especially since we've seen now that Israel has restricted all 100% any aid going into Israel, or excuse me, into Gaza. What option? I mean, it's time to fight or die. So raising the 3 H's of the resistance, that's happening. We're seeing it. And all of this in the totality, as Ryan said, predictable. And that's the most frustrating part. It's predictable. So for Donald Trump, was it predictable? I don't know. But for those around him, maybe not Pete Hegseth, but for some of the others around him that saw this as predictable, then why did we drive down the road to Abilene in this broken down bus, knowing where we're going, and do it anyway? That's the question that I'd like to know. I think we all know why.
Just to give you some news, the launch from Iran did not happen. That was false news. So just to be clear on that, just to rectify that, guys, if you're listening on the YouTube, make sure you like the video. Let's get as many people in here as possible. Donald Trump has tweeted. This
What
is
about the launch from Yemen?
The one in Yemen was real. The one from Iran wasn't.
Okay.
Yeah. So Donald Trump has tweeted, and apparently he's not even talked about the war. He's not even talked about any of these attacks. He's talked about, has anybody watched the crooked elections going on in California? 2 great Republican candidates are being cheated, and so is America, which if the Democrats are able to fulfill their mission, great trouble and consternation will follow. Watch this election closely, President Donald J. Trump. So he's ignoring what's going on, Ryan.
I like Democrats. That's, she's pretty good on that. Just a second, Sully. You ever had one of these?
Why would you do that, Ryan?
I'm just saying, I just don't think I can. I don't think I can drink them all by myself.
Just for the audience, basically, when I went to Japan to meet, me and Ryan hung out, I was addicted on them, and obviously you can only get them in Japan.
Oh man, just reach through and get them.
What are they?
It's called the glory of heaven that Ahmed cannot have. It's just awesome. It's like health. It tastes like an energy drink, but it's healthy because it's Asia. They're really good. So good.
It's sterile and he likes the taste.
Yeah, what's going on is look, they had already painted themselves into a corner. You could see this all the way back in June. I was thinking, what are they going to do? Because you look at it, it's you can't just compare militaries. You have to factor in geography. Iran's main air defense is called the mountains, and as long they're like a porcupine. As long as they're on the defense, they're fine. And you're not going to blow through the mountains and get their ballistic missiles. The Strait of Hormuz is shallow, it's littered, the sonar doesn't work. They got rid of their electric diesel mini subs and stuff. So the U.S. can't get in there. They can't open it. There's nothing they can do unless they want to sacrifice like 50,000 men, which they don't. And so, and as Larry's pointed out many times, just look at the size. Iran's the size of Alaska, which is about the size of Western Europe, except unlike Alaska, it's got 92 million people. If you go tit for tat in an air war or a missile war, and you look at the size of Israel, it's about 70-75% live in Haifa and Tel Aviv. They can't sustain those kind of casualties. Neither can Bahrain or Kuwait or any of these little fiefdoms, or East Israel that some people call the UAE. They can't sustain that. In Saudi Arabia, too, it looks big, most of it's desert. If you look at where people actually are, it's not that large either. As far as where populations exist, you can ignore deserts. So all these places are tiny. And then, Iraq's like half and half. The PMU has been taking it. They've been taking Erbil. They took Victoria out. They were the first ones to shoot down an F-15, besides, I guess, Kuwait doing it to itself, allegedly. So, you have this. They will not be able to sustain an air war. They can't go in on the ground. So you would say, well, then why would you start it? Why would you think? Because they were so arrogant. They really thought once we kill the Ayatollah, everything will collapse. And they didn't have a plan B. And then what Trump is doing, I think, as Anthony, before this show, he was on with Ray McGovern, and he gave this analogy of like, if you walk in my kitchen, I got a bowl and I've got some flour and an egg and so on, you're going to think I'm making a cake. Well, you look at it, you've got your strike forces out there, you got your carriers out there. It looks like you're going to have an assault. But if you read Trump's art of the deal, like he could put pressure on people. He wants to be able to like hold a stick over you as he's negotiating. And Iran's just looking at him like, do it. I dare you. Swing. Because they can outpace them. Ballistic missiles are a lot cheaper and faster to make than interceptors. They're very low. The U.S. is low on standoff munitions as well, which means they have to risk aircraft getting shot down, which you saw sort of at the tail end of round one. Israel really doesn't have enough refuelers without the U.S. to do any kind of comprehensive strikes on their own. They've been firing from their naval ships, which is okay. But when you fire from that distance, it gives the longer your shot is, the more time your air defense has to deal with it. I don't think they're being that effective there. And so people would scratch their head. Anyone that knows would say, why would you attack Beirut when they just gave you a red line and say, if you do that, we're hitting you? Because they're arrogant and stupid. They're smignorant, as we like to say, smug and ignorant. They're smignorant at the level of Barry Weiss, which is, I use her on like a scale of 1 to Barry Weiss. How smignorant are they?
Yeah.
So Larry, is it just that, or is this an attempt to derail the deal? Because I know you've spoken many times that your sources have been telling you the deal is close. Trump said, "Oh, I was expecting to sign the deal Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday." So, in addition to Orion saying, do you believe it also was Israel's last attempt to essentially derail the deal?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the primary reason. And still, Trump's clinging on to it. Let's call it. I don't want to use the term. I use the term normal Trump. Whatever this bizarre act that was going on previous weeks, he'd already be threatening, the end of civilization again for Iran. He's not not breathing a word about it. He's just keeping out of it, And so I could see one scenario where he actually could go forward and sign a deal with Iran. I say there's still some major obstacles there, but that he could sign a deal with Iran and then declare victory and figure out and say, well, whatever those Israelis and Iranians are doing, that's their business. That's no longer the business of the United States. Is that like I'm trying to lay out possibilities, not to be, I'm not pretending to be Nostradamus and say, oh, this is what's going to happen. It's a very fluid and dynamic situation. But I do think the escalation between Iran and Israel, that's going to continue. And Israel is going to come out on the other end. It is to follow up on the size issue. I liken it into, it's one of the munchkins from the Wizard of Oz is going to fight the sumo wrestler who stands 6'8", weighs 420 pounds. Okay, they're going to exchange blows. Who do you think's going to win that? Then this is not a David and Goliath story. This is where the actual mass, so like Israel said, oh, we're going to knock out the power centers in Iran. Well, good luck. They are decentralized. They are not centralized. And so you got it's a 75-to-1 ratio, size 75% larger than Israel. Whereas Iran only has to hit about 2 locations in Israel to put them in the dark. So yeah, it's just it's much easier tactically for Iran.
Anthony, looking at this specific strikes, it was so broad, it was so expansive, possibly even Karg Island was hit. Do you think this attack could have occurred without United States of America helping in some form?
Either through logistics or targeting data or radar array to its limited capacity of what hasn't been destroyed. The United States was involved, as we were talking about earlier. This administration has started to redefine common words. An assault on Webster's dictionary. Obliterated now means completely something different. So they're going to parse terms of like, well, we didn't participate. Well, okay, well, it was your forward aerial refueling point, an airborne platform that refueled them to get home from this because they couldn't make it on their own. Oh, okay, well, we were involved, but we didn't participate. And then when pressed, the participation will come to be, well, we participated because we had to defend our bases. We had to defend our soldiers. Whatever Israel was doing, that's on them. But it's like going back to the 1st of March, right? When Marco Rubio was cornered as he came down the steps in the State Department headquarters and took to the podium, and they immediately hit him with, why are we doing this? And he's like, well, because the war was going to happen anyway. It's like, what I thought there was nuclear weapons. Well, Israel was going to strike. We knew they were going to strike, and we knew Iran would retaliate. So we hit Iran first before they could retaliate against the strike that Israel may have done. And all the reporters were just like, what? That doesn't even make sense. So when you look at this in terms of what the United States will say as to why they were involved but didn't participate, would be very much in the same. Well, Israel was going to do it. We knew they were going to do it anyway. There was nothing we could do to stop them. So we got involved, not participated. We got involved in order to protect our assets and our troops. America first, USA, right? And everybody's going to be like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense. And it really does not. We were involved. To consider the depth, breadth, and array of the targets that were hit and the time that they were hit and the immediacy of the response to put this together, the United States would have been involved to some capacity, whether it was logistics, whether it was the targeting cycle, whether it was the real-time intelligence on these said targets. So Israeli F-35Is didn't get hit out of the sky. The U.S. was involved, in my opinion.
Ryan, a question.
Let me just, I don't mean to step on Ryan's time. Let me just throw in one other thing to consider. So Iran hit Prince Saud Air Base.
Yes.
So was this because the Saudis were cooperating? Or let me throw in another possibility. The Saudis and Iranians had a talk behind the scenes. And the Saudis said, you know, we wouldn't really have a problem if you hit Prince Saud Air Base and you took out the KC-135s that are based there.
Bingo.
And then that way we have to tell the United States, hey, sorry, we can't protect you, and you're going to need to move your folks all out. Now, one of my neighbors, I was chatting with him the other day. Said, oh, my son's coming home for the birth of his child. It's a C-section. I said, oh, where's your son? He goes, Prince Saud Air Base. I said, what's he doing there? He goes, he's a KC-135 pilot. And I said, man, that's a shithole. He goes, oh, you're telling me? He said, my son said he can't tell me a bunch until he gets back home. So my point is that this may not have been Iran taking on Saudi Arabia. There may have actually been some pre-coordination between the two. One possibility.
Yeah, I just to add, I concur to that in terms of what we discussed in the last segment here, was that I believe the target of anything that would have been hit in Saudi Arabia at the airbase would have been the 378th Expeditionary Wing, which obviously there are KC-135 tankers, there are Harriers, there are gunships, there are a various array of air platforms, KC-135s being one. So I think that in this little grand endeavor and what they did in their return, if the United States were involved, the most direct way would be to put up an forward aerial refueling point for aircraft to come back through. And where would that have taken off and landed? At the airbase in Saudi. So I concur with Larry entirely on that.
Ryan, what's your
Their
thoughts?
ACAPs have to get further and further away because, I mean, Bahrain, something got popped there. Something very expensive. Look, they don't have defensive capacity, and the Marco Rubio's excuse, well, we had to hit them because they're about to hit our surrounding army. It's like Lincoln's excuse, like South Carolina fired on our warships. Like, why are your warships in Charleston anyway? Like, you started that. The Nashville was fired on by the USS Harry Lane. They did not start that war in Fort Sumter. Everything here is a lie. Anyway, the Saudis may have cracked a deal, but look, this isn't going to end right here. This isn't like pro wrestling or something. Israel has been murdering civilians with impunity, and it got to the point where Iran, look, they never liked this, but as soon as they're ready, they put a red line they knew Israel would cross. They knew they were going to do that. They know how arrogant and stupid these people are. And they did it in the dumbest way. They just sort of was like, oh, yeah, like I'll cross that line. Took out a building. They did kill somebody. But now they're taking it on the chin, and people are excited. You could see the cope and seething on X from the Mark Levines and Larry was talking about dogs slicking their balls. It's reminding me of Mark Levine. But these kind of people are there just stressed, and they're like, why? Why doesn't America fight Israel's war for them? I think America's done enough. And they realize these bases on all along the Strait of Hormuz, they're super vulnerable. They better not even have them there. But other than the UAE, the UAE is stupid enough. They're so locked in, it doesn't matter. That's why I call it East Israel. But I think Qatar is starting to rethink. I think even Kuwait and Bahrain are starting to rethink their position on Team Israel, Team USA. And as I said, Trump will leave it. He has no loyalty to these people. He doesn't have to defend them. He needs that strait open. He needs that from all this global economic pressure. But is he really going to turn on Netanyahu? I don't think so. But the quickest way to get more money out of Adelson and Co. is to act like you're going to, so that he can get more money.
Good point.
Larry, I had a question for you. You mentioned about the possibilities of Saudi Arabia. is another possibility, because I know I've been following, like we've had you on and you've been giving us updates about how the negotiations are going. Could the other possibility be that Iran was frustrated that they thought a deal was happening? Are not happy with because previously when they've struck the Middle East, they've struck every country except for Qatar and Saudi Arabia. Could this be Iran sending a message to say, we thought there was going to be a deal? We were having these negotiations behind closed doors and you've kind of betrayed us. A, what's your thoughts on that? And B, I mean, just for Ryan and the audience, and I guess there may be some new listeners, I did put out what you said yesterday to us in the interview about Bahrain. You did reveal what that was yesterday. I did put it out, went viral on X. If you want to elaborate on that as well, but go ahead, Larry.
Well, actually, I don't want to hear what I just sent Ryan a note in Telegram. Check that, Ryan. Is that what you revealed?
No, it was you, Larry, who revealed it.
Oh, well, yeah.
I posted what you revealed on my show yesterday, and it went viral.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. There. What made the hit so important in Bahrain is that I was told the joint staff was going crazy, and they were going crazy because they said the only way that particular target that was hit could only have been hit with Russian or Chinese intelligence. So that's put it up to a new level. Look,
it's funny because I just read that in Korean news, like it's not a secret. So they didn't care over here.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because what happens is North Korea puts it out anyway, and then the South gets it, and that's that. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I didn't put it out.
Yeah, it wasn't me. It was North Korea. Do something.
The Pakistani source. One other thing the Pakistani source told Pepe and me was that the Saudi Arabia and Qatar have made the decision that they're going to get U.S. out of their territory. There are too many problems that come with it. They want them out. So I doubt that Iran was hitting the Saudis in order to heat things up and worsen relations with the Saudis. I think it's just the opposite. And let's remember who the Saudis have a defense pact now with Pakistan. Mm-hmm. So, I think there's some other Iran may be helping the Saudis get rid of the United States presence there.
And just on that, Larry, we've got some news, which is that Iran is denying responsibility for the attack on Saudi Arabia, and people are now basically relaying the possibility that it could be by Ansarullah. So those are the kind of statements that are coming out now. But Iran has denied the attack on Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, well, remember that in the first 5 weeks of the war, there were a couple of attempted attacks on Turkey. And I'm far be it for me to suggest that Israel might have been involved with that, but Israel is in a desperate situation right now, and so it wouldn't surprise me that they go to great lengths to try to widen this war, force the United States into it, and so far Trump appears not to be taking the bait. But we'll see if we're saying that in 6 hours. But
did you see CBS reporting? America's strikes as self-defense bombings, like self-defense strikes are bombing their territory in self-defense.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
It's Orwellian. It's hilarious because it's too Orwellian. It's too on the nose, and he's just thinking, "Wow, even a boomer wouldn't swallow this."
Tony, question. Same question to you. When you look at now Iran and the possible response it's going to have, we're expecting the Iranian response. I would say Iran's strike on Israel was quite limited. They focused on, as me and Larry spoke, and you, me and yourself spoke as well. It was focused in the northern Israel. It was an airfield and a military base. Mm-hmm. I mean, this time Israel has struck a number of locations, and possibly Karg Island, although that needs to be verified. What's your thoughts on how expansive the response of Iran will be?
Well, I think it'll be, they're going to up the level. It's not just going to be northern Israel, because now this next retaliation is not going to be in response to simply the attacks near Beirut and Dahia, which was a clear red line. Don't do that. Now it's in response to the greater attack, so therefore the scope is going to be greater. We are now no longer on the steps of escalation. We are on the escalation escalator, and this is moving rapidly to where the response that Iran will have to Israel will be much more broad. I think we'll see strikes in Tel Aviv, in other areas that are of strategic significance, perhaps. Probably areas where Iran or intelligence that's being provided to them knows where the existing or potentially existing remnants of the Iron Dome, the aluminum dome now, really, the aluminum dome and David's sling still exist. Taking those out would certainly set another parameter of we punched back. Now we dropped your shorts. So what are you going to do? So I think that the next round of response from Iran will be focused on debilitation, not yet winding up for the roundhouse in the 12th round, but definitely something that's going to send a message of you're now exposed. Does Iran know where those targets are? I'm very confident that they do. Do they possess the munitions to hit them and the capability to overwhelm systems with their various Shahed drones and then followed up by missiles? They do. So I think that the response from Iran will still be measured, but it will be an escalation in terms of they're going to hit back a little bit harder. But it will be measured. I think we've seen throughout this that Iran doesn't strike girls' schools or hotels. They hit military targets.
No doubt, no doubt. Guys, if you're listening to YouTube, make sure you like this video. Let's get those likes up to 1,000 at least. Ryan, what's your thoughts about...
Yeah, they hit the Ramat Air Base. They're hitting military targets. I know people will look at the war in Lebanon and go, oh my God, the Lebanese are losing. Look at all the buildings and towns that are getting destroyed. But I ask people, my retort, and people can steal this from me. Like, how many British cities or villages were sacked in the Revolutionary War? None. How about the War of 1812? Did they lose any property? No. What did the U.S. do? They attacked their soldiers and their forts exclusively, except for John Paul Jones did one little raid, whatever. But you can still win a war without destroying 1 inch of civilian infrastructure if you focus on the soldiers. You can see this in Ukraine. Mainly, it's been focused on wiping out the soldiers in the tree lines and taking out their personnel. And that's really the only way to win that war up there, because they have endless amounts of money and guns and things from NATO. So even if you destroyed all their factories, they don't build it anyway. They're getting it from NATO. But if you kill their personnel, you can't replace a person. And the IDF on the battlefield, you don't see a lot of videos of Hezbollah fighters or prisoners. What you see is them flying over top and bombing homes. Well, that's not effective. I mean, it's terrorism is what it is. But battlefield wise, it doesn't move the needle. What moves the needle is the guys operating tanks getting killed and their tanks destroyed and the infantry getting hit. They're losing that. And if they can't bomb Beirut, if they can't collapse the economy, which is their strategy, is like, well, we'll cut Hezbollah off by getting everybody to flee Lebanon, blah, blah, blah. If that's removed and they're forced to fight on the battlefield, they're going to lose. And Iran has basically said, nah, you can fight in southern Lebanon. You can't keep bombing civilian areas like this. So now what's he going to do? I mean, that's what Israel always does. They just carpet bomb schools and hospitals and things like, that's what they do. But the better thing to do if you want to win a war is to hit their soldiers, to hit their bases, hit their air bases, hit their naval bases. Once you take that out, you can take every city in a second. They've really bitten off more than they can chew. And of course, their strategy, better than a nuclear weapon, or they thought, was America run behind, dad's leg and go, yeah. Well, America can't save you either. They're not going to invade Lebanon, and they can't get the Strait open. An armed invasion of Iran would be insane. A nuclear attack on Iran would be insane. And you see, I think in addition to maybe they're close to a deal, I think something else was going on. The House passed the War Powers Resolution. It's in the Senate. So if that threatens to pass, Trump can't get into it. So if they force him to start the war now before that's passed, he'll argue, well, this is another war and I get another 60 days, whatever, because that hadn't passed yet. That could be another factor. We're not going to have to rub crystal balls and try and predict. This is happening right now. They are shooting at each other right now. And that's going to go on. But this is what Israel wanted. They feel like it's their last chance to get this done because they are losing the PR war. They can buy off politicians. They can spend $35 million to get rid of Thomas Massey in a race in Kentucky. They can spend their money, AIPAC, UDP, all the Israeli friends of this and that. They can do that to the government. But there's not enough propaganda in the world to erase, live stream genocide where people saw on their smartphones what they're doing, burning little girls and just, they desecrated graves, they rape prisoners. It's, there's not enough PR ever to win that. It's not because Qatar or anything. It's no countermeasure. It's just the truth. People see what Israel does and how they behave, and they're losing their support. These dispensationalist Christians are starting to scratch their head and go, maybe we shouldn't rape prisoners and blow up apartments full of people. And a lot of Israelis too, they're committing suicide, or some of them are injuring themselves so they don't have to go to the front line. They're deserting. They know that they brought this on themselves. They got a lot of wounded. A lot of people are in those tanks. They're deaf. They get their bell rung. They can't hear anymore. They're losing legs. And then there's a new weapon too. If you've seen the latest footage from Hezbollah with the drones, you notice something changed. It's at night. You have thermal vision. The Israelis can't see these coming, and they're just going in with these Persian lawnmowers, bang. And they don't have an answer for it. They put up some netting, some cope nets. Okay, one drone takes out the net, the next one comes in behind it. It really doesn't do much. And so they thought they could murder their way through Sherman style by killing civilians, and that would do it. You don't control global media. That's going to be reported. Everybody hates Israel. They've totally alienated themselves, including from a large chunk of the American public. And Trump's got midterms. He's got rising gas prices. He's stressed about the elections in California. He's got enough things on his plate. He's like, man, I need a W. And this war is not popular at all. And saying we obliterated their Navy and their communications, the Air Force 100 times, or his Freudian slip when he said we obliviated, because he's oblivious. When he says stuff like that, it just looks like an ass. And everyone can see you're not in trouble. Oh, I just called BB on the phone and I told him knock it off. Like one interview ago with Larry, it was today, my time, we're saying, or you were saying that Trump was saying, oh, well, Iran responded but knock it off. He said, I told Israel not to respond to that. And what did they do? They went and bombed 4 different areas in Iran. They hit Tehran, they hit Isfahan, they hit Tabriz, and they didn't do much. If you look, again, battlefield wise, targeting buildings with AI, Iran had already moved its civilian aircraft out of that base. They're not getting much done. It's a bunch of flashy fireballs in the theater for the war cheerleaders. But at the end of the day, you can't just lie your way out of this. It isn't going well. You can lie temporarily, boost morale, but it actually makes it worse in the long run because they think, I thought they didn't have a Navy. What are they shooting at us with? Oh, I thought they didn't have air defense. How come they shot down our planes, including an F-15E? That's more premier than an F-35, although I call the F-35 the Bradley with wings. I think we could call the Iron Dome the Bradley Dome, since it's made of, if it's aluminum. Alco would be happy. That's about it. So I'll break out the popcorn, because usually I hate war, but a situation like this, I don't see any other way to deal with people that are devoid of reason and empathy and basic humanity. The only way is for them to lose the fight, and they're losing it.
So we've got a few statements and reports. The first thing is a statement by the Israeli ambassador. He says, quote, Iran fired 11 ballistic missiles at Israel today. I mean, that's wrong. There's 20. Each one of those missiles can level an entire neighborhood and kill hundreds. No self-respecting country in the world will tolerate such an attack, and neither will Israel. Israel is now targeting Iran's surface-to-surface missile launch sites, as well as infrastructure facilities unrelated to the energy sector. So it seems like they're trying to say they stayed away from it. The people of Lebanon have rejected Iran's proxy, Hezbollah, and have told Iran to get out of their country. And then he goes on. Another report that's coming. Sorry?
You mean they told Israel to get out of the country, right?
Well, no, they're saying that Lebanon has told Hezbollah.
the Lebanese government.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, because
yeah,
he's trying. It's the Lebanese government, but he's trying to say it's Lebanon. Also, Israel Hayun is claiming that the Israeli strikes in Iran were indeed coordinated with the United States of America. So Israel Hayun, which is a media outlet in Israel, is claiming that happened. Larry, what's your when you look at what happened? When do you? Sorry, go ahead.
No, I said what was their claim?
That the strikes on Iran were coordinated with the United States of America.
Well, I'm sure they're going to say that just to try to get the United States, again, what's their purpose? Derail any agreement that might be pending. And so get the United States dirtied up with it if they can. So, yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
So, Larry, just from your understanding of what's happening right now, why do you think Iran hasn't responded immediately? Do you think it's because they weren't expecting it? Do you think the response is going to come later? Like, from a tactical perspective, what do you think Iran is doing right now?
Well, again, the couple of possibilities. One, if they were, if the Pakistanis told them, look, let Israel get its face-saving strikes. Don't retaliate. We're going to move forward with this agreement. And within that, the Saudis and Qataris are fully on board to getting the United States out. So there's a possibility Iran might say, okay, we'll take that deal. But that's one possibility. But, if they're going to escalate, they promise they're going to escalate. So it's not that their missile sites have been destroyed, because their missile sites are underground. They're not above ground. Jesus. How many times do we have to go through this with these people? Iran retains the ability to escalate this conflict in a way that Israel cannot respond to.
We've got another statement. This is from Mike Huckabee, who says the following quote: Iran fired missiles. Your favorite guys.
Jesus.
He says Iran fired missiles at Israel last night and early today. The missile alert sounded at 6 a.m. in Jerusalem. They were intercepted, thank God. Iran, which is not true because we saw visuals of the strikes. Iran and its proxy agents of evil want to incinerate America and Israel. Mothership of Satan is in Tehran. Also, a senior Israeli official, Anthony, told Channel 14 News the following quote: "We are at the beginning of several days of battle against the Iranians and the proxies in the Middle East." What's your thoughts on that? They're trying to say this is the start of several days of battle.
Yes, I think that these escalations will go on for several days. I think that Donald Trump is desperately seeking a way out, but that's not going to be the reality of that. Is that there's going to be retaliation response for the oncoming days. And again, when you look at the Pete Hegseth always likes to talk about the fog of war because it sounds great, but we often forget about the friction of war. And that's where we are right now. The world is getting a masterclass in the friction of war, of the unintended consequences, and how little things become big things, and how within these next days of escalation, what could happen to then raise the bar to another level of escalation. And I think that we are going to see that. And something that Ryan laid out quite detailed was pretty much what he was laying out is critical factor analysis. Bombing buildings. Okay, well, that doesn't seem to be working to end it. So what Hezbollah has figured is that, well, the critical factor is the soldiers, the Markava tanks. That's what we're going to strike. The United States learned this lesson long ago in 1943 with the Schweinfurt raids, when we were like, how does Germany keep pumping all this? How do they keep producing all this stuff? And we bombed the factories, and we did that, and we wanted to strike the hydro dams. And what was it? Ball bearings. And in 1943, when we conducted raids against the ball bearing plants, we were like, that worked. Critical factor analysis. Israel and the United States are still poking around with Iran to see, where is that critical factor? We killed the Ayatollah? No, that wasn't it. We sunk their navy? No, that wasn't it. We grounded their air force, except the one that got through that bombed Kuwait. And you don't need an air force when you have Kuwaiti pilots. So then what happened? You know, we took down their Air Force. We did this, we did that, we did this, and they're still fighting. What's the critical factor? And it's that asymmetric warfare capability through that mosaic command structure with their coastal defenses and their interior defenses and their resilience that you don't just push a button and defeat. So we're going to see in the coming days these ongoings of escalation, and it's something like Ryan said, get the popcorn because we're going to see it.
Yeah, I agree with that. Ryan, there is a report right now that says and I want need some elaboration on this, because why would this be the case?
You're smiling. Is it East Israel? No.
No. The unfortunate thing is we're not seeing East Israel being struck, and I'm waiting, guys. Larry said there is a chance I could be allowed back in the country, but I don't know. I don't see no chance in that. But anyway, I don't want to go anywhere. But so Ryan, the question to you is: there's a report right now which says, a KC-135 Stratotanker refueling aircraft of the U.S. Air Force is currently operating over the Persian Gulf near the Iranian coastline. Why would they have an individual sole Stratotanker over the Persian Gulf?
Well, Trump did make that declaration, like, if you kill an American, then we'll come back in. So they're like floating some very tempting bait there. But what's the refueler going to do? Unless it's refueling something, who cares? But they're just he's looking for a pretext, because he's going to have to explain later when oil prices skyrocket way past, if he restarts this war and there is no deal, and that really, if it goes that direction, he can't start it, because that's just total political suicide for him and his entire party. So, maybe they're just floating it out there. The whole thing's stupid. They've been playing this very dangerous game of chicken. It's trying to send a destroyer in, then out, bombing some radar on the islands. They took out some civilian radar, bombing the coastline, shooting at a boat, all these little one-off little things that you can kind of take it. And Iran just sort of mirrored them by reacting at about the same level without everything going to hell. But look,
I was just going to say that I was trying to think through. Okay, the U.S. commander out there in the region, he's operating under some rules of engagement and also under some mission tasking. And I was trying to think through. Okay, what could that mission tasking be? Well, one possibility is, and it explains why they would try to run a ship through the Strait of Hormuz. The Iranians would react to that ship. Then the United States would go out and target. So I think what they were doing was trying to identify locations, points of fire, and the communication systems used that the Iranians were using to issue orders to carry that out. And so that's what they were, quote, trying to. That was the operational mission. That's why, because I like Ryan, I was saying, what's all this tit for tat bullshit? What's it accomplishing? And I thought,
Ritter calls it shaking the tree or lighting up the grid. You want to figure out how they communicate, how quickly they can respond, where do they respond from, where are the defense systems located. What they understand is those things move around. So
that's right.
It's not World War II. You can't fight like that anymore.
Well, not only that, whatever's being fired from, say, Keshem Island, they've got coastal defense cruise missiles. Inland, they've got short range and intermediate range ballistic missiles that can target ships in the strait. They've got drones, the underwater drones, and the mini subs. So, I mean, it's really sort of a foolish mission. And the United States paid a big price the other day when Iran said, okay, when they went after the former Fifth Fleet headquarters and took out this big target. That I don't think anybody, I think a lot of the people at the Pentagon were not just read into the program and didn't realize what was potentially at risk. And now all of a sudden that it's gone, they got a big problem.
And you mentioned, Larry, that
they can't see what's coming.
Yeah.
But what they can know is either Russia or China or both has been sharing intelligence to know where these things are and where they're vulnerable. But it's funny. They know where the U.S.'s critical points are. They know where that is. But General Jafar's mosaic defense it works. They are perfectly using geography. They are doing exactly what they need to do. You can tell they prepared. They went over all the scenarios. They're paying attention to the Red Hat war games, but the U.S. isn't. And what's baffling is they conducted them.
Yep.
We did war game this out and lost. And for those that don't know, like what Red Hat means, like, well, you can look it up. We had all that data, and they did it anyway because Trump has surrounded himself with yes men. It's like when he walked off an interview today or yesterday, depending on your time zone. He just, we're done. You're fake news. He cannot handle bad news or anything that goes against his worldview. You have to kiss up to him or you get removed. So you're in a situation, and you had this problem in Vietnam too. You couldn't get accurate information. Well, the truth matters. Ignorance isn't bliss. If you don't know what's going on, you can't adapt and adjust to mistakes. So they keep making the same mistakes because that information isn't getting up there. Bush the Lesser had this problem with the Office of Special Plans, which is not only cherry picking, but fabricating information and giving it to them. And none of it was true. Luckily at that time, the U.S. was just so much bigger than Iraq. You could make every mistake and still win. But, then they had an insurgency and they lost about 6,000 soldiers and more to suicide. They didn't gain anything. It was so stupid. But this is Trump. He's a narcissist. He's got something wrong with him, dementia or whatever it is. He was always stupid, so it's kind of hard to tell. But there's something wrong with him. And then he's got his liquor cabinet. Your cross-eyed goof and Patel, and you've got Pete Hegseth, who thinks that it's the end times and stuff. He's not getting. Tulsi's retiring. Joe Kent already left. Like, everybody with the brain is leaving because they're not being listened to. So this is part of the problem. Like, he watches the Mark Levine show for information. Okay. Like, this is how bad it gets. He got the idea of blockading the blockade from Alan Dershowitz, Epstein's lawyer. Okay. That's why I call it Epstein Fury. It's all these people, it's just, we're dealing with clowns, the most powerful military in the world, but it's being run by circus clowns. Actually, clowns have talent. I shouldn't say that like an actual clown. It's actually a pretty hard skill. They're more like Krusty the Clown, maybe just dumb. And he just thinks, oh, well, it reminds me of that scene, where Hitler's moving around invisible armies, and they're like, sir, that we don't have, there's nothing there. And he's like, and he freaks out. That's Trump. He thinks, well, we took out their communications, their Navy, their Air Force. They got nothing. The other day, he's like, I was just on the phone with Hezbollah. No, you weren't. Of all the things that never happened, that never happened the most. I think he gets confused. Maybe he talked to the Lebanese government and he thinks it's the same thing because he is that ignorant. But that's, look at his cabinet. I challenge you. Tell me a smart person. I mean, I guess in health, you have RFK Jr.
I want to go that far, but
he's not dumb.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's few and far between. But P.S. By the way, I'll break this on your show. I'm doing a film about his father. I decided to make a Kennedy film on Robert Kennedy first before I do the JFK.
Awesome. Looking forward to
Larry
that.
and I actually talked about it last year. Went over the whole thing.
Yeah.
You don't have to wait for these files to be released. Like, that information's out there. Same thing with Epstein. Same thing with JFK. It's just they're waiting for the government to tell on itself, and that's not going to happen. But there are a lot of researchers like, we can explain both Kennedy assassinations. We can explain a huge chunk of Epstein too. It's just like the censorship is what's killing it. That's what it is.
No doubt, Ryan. Anthony, I just got a question for you, which is when you look at specifically what Larry mentioned, what Ryan mentioned, the targeting on the Strait of Hormuz, you had an interesting theory about how this targeting was likely to soften up the area. Not that they're going to do something, but potentially it gives them the options later, if you want to elaborate on that.
Well, and I also sincerely hope that after Donald Trump talks to Yitzhak Rabin this weekend, that the peace deal with Hezbollah so they can leave Italy will all come together. You're right. He is an idiot. He doesn't know who is who. I think he talks to dead people. In the Strait of Hormuz, with the softening of certain targets, I think that when you look at the strikes that we've taken against Qasem Island, do they defeat the coastal defense of the Iranian 2nd Naval Division, the IRGC-N, split between the 1st and the 2nd, between Jask, Sarik Island, and Qasem? It doesn't blind them. It doesn't take away their capability. It provides windows of opportunity that I think when we see followed up with when the USS Peralta went into the strait, that would be a reconnaissance by fire, except you don't shoot and you see if they shoot at you. So remember the Band of Brothers scene? First Sergeant Lipton goes out and says, Lefty, cover me, find out where the sniper is. And he just runs out there to see where the sniper's going to shoot. And then Lefty takes him out. Same type of deal. You send the ship in there. Where are they going to shoot from? You build your target array based on where they are. Can they move them? They can. But you get an idea of at least where they're operating within, what they're using. Take a few shots. Hopefully you don't get killed. Come on back. We'll assess. So once they got that picture of Hashem Island, what we see is we kind of talked about this a few days ago. The specific things they hit on Kashaim Island in terms of communications and radar were the telecommunications, because I think what Iran has now learned from their coastal defense system is don't talk on UHF, VHF, or SATCOM, because the U.S. is trying to listen to that. So the U.S. was then trying to figure out, well, then what are they talking on? Because we know they're talking, but we're not hitting that frequency. We're not picking anything up on the AM/FM, so to speak. Oh, they're talking on that. Oh, they have a telecommunications platform there with a radar there that communicates through alternate means. We got to take that out. So I think that was an attempt to do that, to provide blind spots and windows of opportunity. I think that the U.S. Navy Central and the components of the Fifth Fleet south of the Strait in Oman still have something up the sleeve to do some type of operation in the Strait of Hormuz to draw IRGC Navy and draw Iranian Navy, where they split that AOR. The Strait of Hormuz is split between the area of responsibility for the IRGC-N 1st and 2nd Naval Divisions and the IRIN, the Iranian Navy. So you have some command friction there. It's a good point to exploit if you can blind them. So I think that's kind of what the task force in the Strait of Hormuz is looking at. While in the north with Kashem Island, similar, poke that, it's the kid in the back seat on the 8-hour road trip and dad's driving and it's like, I'm not touching you, I'm not touching you, I'm not touching you. And then he pokes him and then you got to stop the car and beat their ass before you continue on the trip. That's what's happening in Kashem, or excuse me, Karag. It's, I'm poking you, but I'm not touching you. I'm poking you, but I'm not touching you. How Iran's going to respond. All of this leading to the greater escalation. I still think, based on the forces that are there, composition, disposition, and strength of the U.S. fleet and forces, that there will be some type of attempt for Donald Trump to punch his ticket to get out. Will it be successful? Don't think so. Will Donald Trump still try it? Yes. Will it be costly and it simply take us further down the march of folly? Yeah. I think Donald Trump is out of his depth in this, but he is desperately seeking a way to get out and maintain any bit of his ego and hubris to say, well, they don't have the bomb, and that was the overall objective. We won, and we won big, right? So let's all go watch the fight. Let's all go watch the UFC fight. It's all, Iran's taken care of. I think he desperately wants a way out.
So Larry, a question to you is, there's just a statement right now from Ansarullah, and they said the following quote: Tehran, Beirut, Sana'a, Baghdad, Gaza. There is a major shift in the balances of the conflict. The era of isolation and unchecked violation has ended, and today on the battlefield, the equation of unified fronts is taking shape, confirming that any aggression will not remain confined to a single geography or isolated from its surroundings. This is after Ansarullah fired a missile towards Israel for the first time since, I believe, early April. What's your thoughts on that statement and this possibility of a united front against Israel?
Well, remember, that was what the IRGC spokesman said a week ago Friday, that if this escalated, if Israel didn't back out of Lebanon, if the blockade's not lifted, that the next steps would be that Iran would strike Israel, and that the Houthis would get back engaged, and Bab el-Mandab would be closed. So I think this is the first step towards that.
Okay, guys, now we have got some breaking news, and it is and again, just take it because last time it was end up being incorrect, but this is now from multiple sources. multiple missiles launched from Iran towards Israel right now. So multiple launches from Iran to Israel right now. This is being reported by multiple people, Ryan. So it seems like we were asking when we thought the response would happen. It's happening right now. Sirens all across Israel.
It seems that Hezbollah is also hitting them, according to Telegram. I just looked.
Okay.
Yeah, listen, and you'd think, wouldn't they know
So it's a
that they could
combined
close?
strike. You're saying it's a
Yeah,
combined
I mean,
strike.
wouldn't you know? Yeah, it is combined strike, and into Yemen fires like a missile. But the more important thing that I call it answer Allah, but that the Houthis can do is closing the strait, because the way they've been circumventing the Strait of Hormuz is going through the Red Sea. We can close that too. You know, they don't have an answer to that, and I can say that with confidence because the U.S. had a 7-week war with Yemen and bombed civilians and did all that, and it didn't work. In fact, they lost some F-18s. Apparently, they fell off the boat twice, and the other time they shot their own on accident. So you don't have that many female pilots. So, yeah, would you think if you know that they can close the strait, what was your countermeasure? Just let the world economy collapse? I can tell you, East Asia, they're not going to put up with this. It's like, look, that cannot happen. If that strait gets closed as well, do you know how devastating that would be globally? It's not just gas and oil; it's everything. It's all trade.
Yeah.
And do you know how bad
North
it's going
of
to be?
50% of the entire world economy between those two shut down, and that's
Right.
That's bad.
Well, think of the other side of imports too. Where are they going to get food?
Yeah, and let's recognize what was shut down out of the Persian Gulf. It wasn't just 20% of the world's oil supply, 25% of the world's LNG, 35% of sulfur and urea, which are critical ingredients for as fertilizer.
Yep.
In fact, one of the major fertilizer producers in the United States, Mosaic, their mining company is literally 15, 20 miles from me. Even this should have been like their golden age. Like, oh man, we're gold. They had to close half their operation because they don't have sulfur and urea. And then helium. Helium's the one not just for funny voices at birthday parties. Helium is used to make computer chips. So what is one of the major sort of centers for economic activity that people are banking on the future? Oh, artificial intelligence. And those data centers are filled with computers. And those computers contain a thing called computer chips. So now at the very time when you need to have this big outbuild of computers with computer chips, the computer chip market is shrinking significantly, creating some real logistics interruptions. So as Anthony and Ryan were both pointing out, this is a massive. We don't have anything parallel to this in history. This has never happened before in history. And I guess I'm shocked at how many financial analysts just don't have a friggin' clue. Or maybe they do and they're afraid to say it in public. But, this is not some minor interruption that's just got, I skinned my knee, we'll just, put a Band-Aid on it. No, this is an amputation, double amputation.
It's the main
and there's no
character
turning
bias.
it.
People act like, well, that can't happen here until it does. But like, look, this isn't a movie. You're not going to automatically be okay in the end. This is real life. And this funny story when this
just some breaking news, Ryan, and I'll give it straight back to you. The breaking news is that at least 4 missiles were launched from Kermanshah, Isfahan, Urmia, and Tabriz. Total amount more than 5 missiles. Some of the missiles are cluster warheads that have been launched, and apparently one was launched from Yemen as well. So, and you said Hezbollah, but that's not been reported.
Those are the 4 sites that Israel attacked, by the way.
Sorry?
Yeah. Fabriz and Trent, those are the 4 sites that Israel attacked. Those are the ones that are retaliating with Kermanshah 4s.
Exactly. So you've got Ansarullah, you've got Iran, and as you said, according to your source, the resistance in Lebanon. All of them have fired missiles at the same time. Sorry,
Tag in the new. That's Larry was talking about AI. There was an incident where Carl Sagan was up on a cliff with Russell Means from the American Indian Movement at night, and they were looking up at the stars, and Carl Sagan says, "Do you think there's any intelligent life up there? And Russell Means kind of looked down the cliff. He said, I'm still looking for intelligent life down there. Is there any here?
Yeah.
You often look at the government and you think, how can they be? This is why we have 330 million people. This is the best and brightest. You're kidding me. But this is what happens when you have puppets like who've sold their soul to the donor class. They don't have to be smart. They're just doing whatever. And Larry's question was kind of, I don't know if it's facetious or serious, because he was saying, where are all the analysts about this? Are they just like quietly doing their trades, but then acting like that meme with the dog and the house on fire? Like everything's fine. It's not fine. They're not panicking enough. There's a lag time. It's not like, oh, that, and then suddenly there's a lag time when the ships don't arrive. You can dip into oil reserves. You can lift some sanctions on Russia. You can like ease things for a little while. But like over here, Japan's got like 200 days left. It's like almost the fourth largest economy on earth, kind of tied. This is very serious. There needs to be a solution to this. And the solution is for the U.S. to just go back to the Atlantic, let the strait open. They put a toll on it. Fine. The Gulf has to pay the price, but you got to allow the free flow of these goods. But man, gasoline, okay, you can find other ways, to get to work or whatever, but not having enough petrochemicals for crops, that's very serious. And yeah, some of the gases that are used in semiconductors and lithography and things that you use not only for computer chips, printers, everything that's high tech, you need this. It's not going to be available. It physically isn't there, and you can't just go buy somewhere else. The supply chains for some of these things are 9 months to get it, 9 months out or longer. So you can't, I don't think people think, well, we'll just buy some from so-and-so. Like, no, that they're already selling all they can sell. They're at their maximum. You can't, there is no supply. They can't just, let's just increase the pump. Like, it's physically not being transported. And some of the infrastructure that gets blown up, when that happens, it could be a year or more to rebuild it. You can't just turn taps on and off. You have to keep running. Sometimes they just let them burn. Like in Siberia, they just let them burn because that costs less than turning it off and on again, because it closes up. There's this whole long process. I used to work at Nishimura Chemtech in Japan. So like I translated a bunch of science nerd stuff, so I had access to it. I'm not saying I'm one of them, but I had, more than most people. And it's going to be devastating. If they close the Bab el-Mandab, it's over. And it's Israel and the U.S.'s fault. It's really, Israel started this whole war. It's for their interest. It doesn't serve America's national interest whatsoever. It doesn't raise the living standard of our citizens or anything. They're doing it because the donor class, the Epstein class, has twisted their arm into doing it on behalf of Israel. It doesn't really help Israel in the long run either, but they're run by a group of psychopaths who want to annex land and ethnically cleanse their neighbors because they think God granted it to their Pacific group. And they're on this path. Like, we are letting crazy people at the wheel. And Trump is just today is the first time he showed a little bit of backbone ever. But I swear I think he was doing the same thing as the previous two strikes during negotiations. Act like, oh, we're really close to the deal. I told Israel to knock it off. It didn't work. It's not like Iran's like, okay, we won't have high alert then because Trump said this. Like, nobody believes him. When you lie that many times, you have no credibility. So I actually thought when Trump said, I told him to knock it off, I'm like, oh, they're definitely going to strike right now. Because that's how it's been every time. It's like, how many times can Lucy yank the football away from Charlie Brown where he stops trying to kick it? Well, he's a cartoon character. So, but in real world, if someone lies to you like that over and over again, like, we're really close to making a deal. Like, are you? You just said a couple of days ago, I'm not going to unfreeze assets. I'm not going to lift sanctions. You're not close to a deal. You're just acting like that. So you wanted Israel to get a nice preemptive strike. It's not going to work.
So we have got some more breaking news, which is allegedly there is some visuals of some interceptions over West Jerusalem. In addition to that, there are sirens in Beersheba as well. So let's see what happens with that. Obviously, we'll continue to give you the news as and when we receive it. Larry, the number of missiles that Iran has fired doesn't seem like a huge amount. Do you think that they're now once again trying to space this out, thinking this is going to go a lot longer than everyone expected?
Yeah, they're not going to blow it all in one load. And let's not forget, they've had 10 weeks to rebuild. They've got a pretty good production facilities underground. And the Chinese have been cycling in some other, there were reports of anti-ship missiles that came in as well. So, I think Iran's theme song through this has been Ringo Starr's I Get By With a Little Help from My Friends.
Yeah.
And that's the Chinese and the Russians, right, Anthony?
Yeah.
Chinese, the Russians, and Donald Trump's stupidity. It's definitely in favor of Iran.
That's their best ally, that last one.
Yeah.
I mean, pretty soon, President Tramacho is going to start selling Brando at the UFC fight.
I often make that comparison to Idiocracy myself, but Camacho Mountain Dew, whatever his name was, is actually smarter than Trump because in that movie, in the end, he did listen to the smart guy's advice.
That's right.
Whereas Trump would never do that.
In the end, he did listen, and Trump does not.
It's got electrolytes. It's what plants need.
Got electrolytes. Can I just get some water? Some water? Nope.
Because it's what plants need. It's just... Was it a comedy or a horror film? I'm like, no, it's a documentary.
Yeah, it is becoming a documentary, and that is scary.
We're really at ouch my balls level. We have shows in the US where someone stands there and someone else slaps them in the face. That's a real thing. That's just like ouch my balls from Idiocracy, where someone just gets kicked in the jimmy. Like, we're there.
And I bet there are more people per capita that tune in and watch slap fight than
I don't know what it's called,
what's going on in Iran right now,
which is a problem. And we have got some reports that there are reports of multiple explosions in Israel. So there are reports of multiple explosions of Israel, and actually we have got a visual of direct Iranian impact near Jerusalem. So we have got a visual of impact. So obviously these missiles continue to hit. Actually, Larry, you've been very persistent about this from day minus something before we spoke, even before this war, is that Israel just hasn't got any defense interceptors. Like, they're running extremely short. They're going to have to choose on what they defend against. And over the last two attacks, even though Iran has sent only a minimal amount of missiles, almost all of them are hitting.
Yeah, well, that's because Iron Dome sucks. David Sling doesn't work against ballistic missiles. PAC-3s don't work against ballistic missiles. THAADs don't work against ballistic missiles. And then on top of it, as we've talked before, the U.S. supply of PAC-3s is, if they've got 600 left total, because remember the initial production from 2015 through the end of 2025 was 6,000, I think 6,420. And so when you do the math over the years, Ukraine's fired, exhausted its entire supply. They had about 1,000. And when you do the math, that means their 1,000 PAC-3s are capable of intercepting 500 ballistic or cruise missiles. Well, how many has Russia fired over the last 4 years plus? I think it's somewhere around 15,000. So, it's just math. This is, I don't claim to be some calculus expert, but I can add and subtract. And, surprisingly, it seems to be a lot of people in the intelligence community and the U.S. military that have trouble with that. So, and Israel has been bullshitting people for years about, David Sling is good against a subsonic rocket fired by Hezbollah. Okay, but we're not talking that. We're talking Iran can bring hypersonic missiles, and those aren't just missiles that travel above the speed of Mach 6. These are missiles that are maneuverable at those speeds. Yes. And the United States has not yet. We've got supposedly the Great Dark Eagle, I guess it's called, and even that, it's questionable whether or not it actually works.
The maximum
only-
What'd you
threshold
say,
that a
Ryan?
Dark Eagle could achieve at best is Mach 6, where
Yeah.
many of the hypersonics from Iran can reach Mach 13.
Yeah.
I didn't even know
but
there was
ours
a
are
Mach
$41
13.
million each, so it's more effective when it blows up.
I
We
mean,
have
at Mach
8 missiles
13,
that
it's
can
not
reach
faster than
Mach
the speed of
6
sound.
and
That's
cost
faster than
almost
the
50
speed of
million.
thought.
So I
Mach
sent you
13.
a Telegram message of the interceptor fire. You can see they shot like 5 or 6, and it still hit anyway.
Wow.
You can see the contrails are still in the air there. I sent you the video.
Yeah, I
if you
just
can
seen
pull
it.
up or
That's
what.
crazy.
Were those
So-
over Tel Aviv or Beersheba?
Jerusalem.
so
near
this is-
Oh, I'm
Jerusalem.
sorry, the ones over Jerusalem. But did they send strikes towards Beersheba?
Yeah. You mentioned right, Anthony. I've just seen that as well. And Larry, that's 5 interceptors being attempted to be used against 1 missile and failing.
Yeah, if those are PAC-3s, just do the math. Between $4 to $6 million a piece, and so that's $20 million that just went up to take out what may have been let's say a $1 million missile less. And while we're on the finances part of this, we keep talking about the number of MQ-9 Reapers that have been shot down.
Yes.
Well, that's $35 million just for the bird. Now, when
right.
you put the pods on, the pods add another get up to $30 to $40 million. So instead of a $35 million one getting taken down, it's a $60 to $80 million asset being taken down, and they've taken down over 25. So you start doing the math on this, and you go, they shot down like $1 billion worth of Reapers.
And some
I
of the
wonder how many
Reapers,
homes
they
could be
didn't just
built in
shoot
North
down.
Carolina
They
for hurricane damage with all this money.
Wait.
compromised them.
One at a time, gentlemen. Let
sorry.
Anthony go.
That's it, Larry. You're doing things right. Go ahead, Andy.
Go, Anthony.
I got some lag time.
Go ahead, Anthony.
Well, I was just going to say also with the MQ-9s, what we saw in the beginning of the war with the Triton that was taken, Iran successfully got their hands on it and brought it down. Obviously, some reverse engineering going on there. They're learning more of our systems. They're blowing them up, but they're also, I think, the reason they're so successful against the MQ-9s is because of the technology they rendered out of the MQ-4C Triton when they successfully compromised and took it. I think they learned a lot on how to better track its little brother. Because they've been awfully successful with hitting the MQ-9.
We just got some more breaking news, which is launches towards the Negev in Israel as well. Launches towards the Negev. What's it going to get? Anthony, one of the important things I do want you to say on this is, because we've got a huge audience, is you mentioned Beersheba. There's Negev as well. You mentioned in one of our shows previously why is Beersheba was specifically being targeted and the importance of it, if you want to elaborate on that.
Yeah, so when I was in Israel during the 12-day war, I was in Beersheba, and typically Beersheba is not targeted as frequently as other locations because of the large Arab population. It's not the majority, but there certainly are a plurality of Arabs. So it's typically not a target, but it was getting hit heavy. We were getting hit in Beersheba every day. It became the hot spot. And I was like, why? And then one day I'm out on the medical university drive next to the Socorro hospital, and ballistic missile comes in. I've been on the receiving end of a lot of munitions in my 25-year Army career. I've never been on the receiving end of a ballistic missile. And when a ballistic missile explodes, just the engine, when that thing falls out of the sky, is the size of a car. And so this thing comes in and it hits Socorro Hospital or the auxiliary building outside of it. And then after it hits, there's flames, the smoke's clearing, and there's IDF running out of it like you just kicked over a termite mound. I was like, that's weird. But yeah, underneath the Socorro Hospital in Beersheba is where the IDF and Southern Command have one of their AI integration facilities, a military facility underneath the hospital. Who have they blamed that on before? I think there's more to it than that. It's not just that one location, but Beersheba is kind of the hub of not only Southern Command and COGAT, the Coordinating Office of the Government Activities in the Territories, which obviously has the iron grip on Gaza and the West Bank. But if you're going for, trying to free the resistance in Gaza and lift the siege and the oppression of Palestinians, Beersheba is an excellent target for that. So I think that they're going to continue to hit that for reasons of morality and the resistance, but also to strike Israel's AI integration facilities that are right there in Beersheba underground.
Right.
And by underground, I mean under hospitals and hotels.
Human shields. Ryan?
It's a complete projection, right? What they accuse everyone else of is what they do themselves.
Yep.
Who puts something like that underneath a hospital? Well, the Israelis will. And they bank on, well, that used to be the case where they had total media dominance. So if anybody struck it, they'd only say the hospital part and not what was under it.
That's right.
But that doesn't work anymore. Because you can come out and say, before anything struck, do you know they've put these right under civilian infrastructure, that they put this, they do the same thing. They're Mossad headquarters, and they're right in mixed with residential areas. They do everything they accuse
the
others
Iron Dome is not this, it's not like in The Simpsons when the entire, Springfield was shut out by this glass dome. It can move around and things like that. And they, the interceptor pods of the Iron Dome, they put on top of hotels. Like when we were staying at the hotel in Beersheba, one day when we were getting struck, it was like the explosions happening was like, and my dumbass, I'm on the 17th floor, bad idea in a 12-day war, but the explosions over it just, I was like, and the interceptor pod was on the roof of the 20-story hotel, and I was like, what? That's not cool. I'm going down to the basement. So yeah, they put their interceptors on hotels. They put them in neighborhoods. They put them next to schools. They put their AI under hospitals. A lot of finger pointing, and yet there it is.
Yeah. Hey, I'm gonna have to bail out of this. I'm gonna have to bail out of this August assembly, but
appreciate it.
It's been a pleasure being with you, gentlemen.
Really appreciate it, Larry.
And Ryan, I sent you a note about tomorrow or Tuesday your time.
That sounds good.
Appreciate it, Larry. Thank you so much for joining us. Everyone, do check out Larry.
And Anthony, it's good to see you in person. We haven't met yet, but to meet at least this way is a good start.
I'm sure we will meet soon in the future. And thank you, Larry.
I'll be back. All right, brother. Later. Bye.
Yeah, we got Braveheart and Terminator references
all in one.
Yeah,
all in one.
Well, we love Larry. He's amazing. But
well, I think it wasn't live when I said, "I see you brought the finest people."
It was no, I think it was.
That
live.
Was great because that's my favorite character in Braveheart, Stephen of Iron.
Oh, he's great. Stephen,
he's the best. He's awesome.
So we're now hearing reports that there are multiple waves of attacks from Iran towards Israel. There's also an unconfirmed reports that there is a strike on one location in Iran, which is Bandar Makhshar. So obviously that needs to be verified because I don't know why there would be a random attack, but yeah, that is the latest.
We talked today, Sully, and I'd said that would be a location of strike. There's a refinement facility there that is critical to their when we talked earlier today, when I said, possible locations, that was one of them.
And what would be the reason why they'd attack that?
It's right on that cusp of I want to hit you where it hurts, but it's you really can't say it's an energy facility because it's level 14 refinement of some of the materials that they use for other things, but it's right there smack dab in the middle. And when I was looking at how that sortie run could occur, I didn't think that they'd go deep to Tehran, but they obviously did. But along the coastline, I saw that as one of those targets that when we were talking in the earlier episode this afternoon, about those targets along the coast, that one that's right on the coast.
Interesting.
Right on the Persian Gulf.
Mm-hmm. So that's again
the missile fragment has fallen on Hebron. They got pictures of it. And apparently the Israelis are having an emergency cabinet meeting. What do you think was going to happen when you struck 4 cities in Iran? Did you think that they were just going to go, oh, let you save face. We're not going to do anything. New waves are coming.
Yeah.
They like, Iran has always done what it said. That's why they named it True Promise.
It is
They're
indeed
very
a true
opposite
promise.
of the United States.
Yeah, and just another question, guys. If you're listening to the YouTube, make sure you like it and have your subscriptions on and notifications. Look, this was an unplanned collaboration. We got 3 superstars on here giving the analysis as the war is ongoing, as the strikes are ongoing. So you need to have your notifications on in order to know that we're going to go live. So subscribe and have your notifications on. But the question to you, Ryan, is you spoke about that basically you were expecting this. Now, the issue you've got is Larry obviously was confident that this is still like a bump in the road and this probably going to be a deal. I think it's unlikely because I think that once you divide everything by Israel, you're not going to get a deal. What's your thoughts on this possibility that there's going to be a deal? And also there is some news that there is the settlements in the illegal settlements in Jericho are also on fire. But what's your thoughts on that?
Oh, I didn't hear about Jericho. To answer your first question, yes, these are delicious. The second one, as far as the deal, the ironic thing is this actually can get you closer to a deal because the more they lose on the battlefront and realize that this is not a viable option, the more likely they are to go ahead and capitulate to some demands. It seems counterintuitive, but that's actually the more Israel takes it on the chin, the more equipment they lose across the Gulf, the more air bases get annihilated, the more the U.S. is realizing it's not worth it because they can easily avoid all of this just by walking away. The strait was open already before you attacked. All these things you're trying to get, like basically, if you just had the JCPOA, you wouldn't have an uranium enrichment program. You would, like, if you had not torn up the deal, if you had not preemptively struck your negotiations, then this wouldn't be an issue. And they're like, look, you're going to have to lift sanctions and active. And he's like, no, I'm not going to do it. All right, well, the one thing that makes people negotiate or change their mind is pain. So we'll go ahead and suffer some more, lose some more stuff. Our demands are not going to change. They're just going to, like Alexander the Great, we're just going to make him higher the second and third time. So just take the first offer. So ironically, this could, like right now, obviously it's not going to be a deal, but this could lead, makes the percentage higher. But I think it was almost zero before. I think Trump was just talking smack and looking for a way. Like, then why do you have strike forces, carrier groups just sitting there?
Yeah.
Like, what else? Those decoration? Come on. He's planning to hit. But I think when he sees how well it's not going very well, the Israelis went out and now they're getting bombed. They're getting hit in Negev, Jerusalem, northern Israel. Hezbollah's hitting them. Yemen's hitting them. PMU could jump in at any time. He might want to look at this and go, yeah, I'm going to go over here. Because right now, he's not stuck in it. He's not hit the tar baby yet. He's looking at someone else hit the tar baby.
Yep.
And if he was intelligent, and that's a big if, he wouldn't smack it. But it's Trump. If they pay him enough, he doesn't care how bad it is for America or the world because he personally gets enriched. He and the Kushners are making plenty of money off of this. So he doesn't care. Yeah, that's bad for America. But is it bad for Trump? All Trump cares about is Trump.
Yeah, the Trump family is making a lot of money from this war.
And just on that, do continue. But Anthony, just to add to what you were saying, initially there was claims of one rocket towards Beersheba, but now we're hearing multiple launches of multiple rockets towards Beersheba. So it seems like they are targeting what you were saying. But do add on what you were going to say.
If that's on my hit list is of going from the 25-meter target to the 50-meter target to that 75-meter target, obviously looking at Israel as that 75-meter target for threat distance time analysis, I definitely just like along the way I would hit the 378th bombardment wing there in Saudi. When I started striking in Israel, I would definitely look at Beersheba and the facilities there. It's a critical military hub. Beersheba is it's all of Southern Command. The element that is that controls pretty much everything happening in Gaza and in the West Bank. So yeah, it's a spot to hit for a political, military, and moral objective on behalf of the Iranians. And earlier, the strike you said was that at Bandar Kagan?
Bandar Mahajar or something like that.
Okay. Yeah, because the one I was talking about earlier was Bandar Kagan. So we'll see if they struck that, because Bandar Kagan has an underground air base where they do a lot of their launches. But they also have remember when we were in the previous strikes where it was kind of said like, don't do that again with the Pars oil fields.
Mm-hmm.
So the Pars Special Economic Energy Zone headquarters is there in Bandar Kagan. So if you want to hit an energy thing, but not actually the thing that produces the energy, hit the administration headquarters of it, take out the nerds, you might start there. So I think we're going to see that what's next in the escalation ladder, right? Iran responds, they've hit some pretty important parts. Now what we're waiting on now, this segment went from we're waiting on a response to a response. Now we're waiting on how Israel responds.
Exactly. And just let you know, there's multiple reports of multiple waves. So each time we speak, it's not the previous wave we're talking about. There's wave after wave after wave coming from Iran. So Iran is actually expending, in terms of numerically, I don't know how many, but in terms of waves, a large number of waves are going towards Israel. So each time we're seeing alerts going towards Israel. And in terms of the explosion at Bandar Mashar, I believe it's from the previous strikes. And apparently it's airstrikes were on a Karun petrochemical complex.
It's midnight too. Trump's probably asleep.
Yeah, he probably, I mean,
he's just going to wake up this
Wow.
and be like, how's the California election? And like, sir, Israel and Iran are at war.
I mean, you say that, Ryan.
Did the Knicks win? Sir, that's tomorrow.
Exactly. You said that,
Hey,
but
Carolina's in the Stanley Cup. I think it's like
oh, yeah. Well, yeah. Canes are awesome.
I mean, you
Ric
said
Flair
that.
was there. Woo.
Yeah.
It's been overtime like every match. Sorry.
I don't necessarily like hockey, but they always provide free Canes tickets to veterans, so it's just right up the road. So been getting into it, but yeah, that's my team. If I had a hockey team, that's my team.
Yes, the Hurricanes got to be.
Yeah.
There's also right now warnings in Beit Shemesh as well. There is warnings in Beit Shemesh as well right now. So the strikes do continue. The warnings do continue. Obviously, the Israelis have not allowed, remember, they have a complete censorship over the reality of what happened. So we never see the visuals, or rarely see the visuals of strikes. We'll see one or two here or there if they're in certain areas. But generally speaking, there's huge censorship, right, Ryan?
That's correct. And the ironic thing is, like, most of this stuff's on Telegram, and a lot of it's on Israeli channels.
Mm-hmm.
So you can find it. It's, you're not going to see this on legacy media, and you're definitely not going to get the names of towns and things. And you're really not going to see this on X or anything either, unless they copied it from Telegram. Like the journalists that the Israelis haven't shot, it's all through Telegram, and Substack is another one, kind of a new player. They get it on there. That's the place to go to the news. Whereas X is just so much slop, and there's so much nerfing of accounts and playing around with reach and stuff. That's not where to go. But if people are wondering, like, how did you know? Where do you get this breaking news? How do you know they just hit this or that? Like Telegram or Substack. Y'all got to get on that, get on some channels, and it's got automatic translation, so you can get news from wherever, pretty much. Israel seems to be getting hit everywhere: the south, the north, the center. It's like
Shemesh is in Jerusalem district also, right? West of the West Bank, but in
correct, and they got hit southwest.
I think that they hit that they hit that back in March too. Iran did.
They did, yeah.
I wonder what their I wonder what the persistent objective is.
They definitely have strong intelligence on Israel's weak points.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. That's why whatever kind of like why they kept hitting Ali Al Salim, why they pummeled Bahrain, right? There was something there they were going after. So now that they're hitting Beit Shemesh again, I wonder what the...
Well, look at the beginning of the first round. The first thing they did is they took out THAAD radar. They took out radar in Qatar and Jordan, worth collectively probably $1 billion immediately.
Oh, yeah.
And they did it with a drone.
Yep. 3D printed off the shelf, 30 grand. If that.
It was. Now they're like 8 grand. I mean,
because they're pumping them out. Yeah. It's I think the biggest gift China and Russia gave them were massive 3D printers.
Mm-hmm.
And there's more launches. This is the ballistic missile launch. The recent one took place from Tehran. And apparently there's sirens saying that there's going to be strikes in 1 to 2 minutes. So the strikes from Iran continue, quite consistent and persistent. Ryan, how long do you think that they'll continue with this? Because they don't want to expend too much. Larry was saying that this earlier as well. You don't want to expend too much, do you, in one go?
Well, they won't go above replacement rates because they don't know how long you have to drag it out. But we don't know what the replacement rate is.
Point.
So this might be all night, but they're not going to blow their wad. They're going to be like, we're going to fire at our replacement rate or close to it so that, they can continue this because the clock's on their side. With the strait closed and the potential of the Red Sea also getting closed, the enemy's bleeding out, not Iran. Iran's still got its land transport. Its ships are getting out. It can still send oil to China, Japan, India. They're fine. But the Gulf states are bleeding. And Israel and the United States, they need a way out. So a war of attrition, Iran wins. They don't need some big decisive battle, drag it out. So why don't they just fire 100 missiles at once? Why? Every day this goes on, their enemy loses money. Netanyahu's at a very fragile political situation. Not for what people think. They're mad that he isn't being aggressive enough.
That's right. Yeah, that's a great point, Ryan.
Nuts.
Yeah, back in Israel, they're mad because he's not being aggressive enough. Not because,
right. They want to kill more Palestinians.
That's right. That's a great point.
A couple babies are still alive. How dare you?
Someone's breathing.
Yeah. Oh, that's dark.
Someone else besides us is breathing.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's how they are.
Those damn goyim are still there's one twitching. We haven't desecrated his body. We haven't stripped the clothes off this corpse yet and drug it around behind a truck. They're it's like biblical level rage, and their comeuppance couldn't be any sweeter. This is what they deserve. If you want a number how long are they going to go? I can't answer that because I don't know what the replacement rate is, but I don't think they'd go above that because it's in their own interest to drag this out. Drag it out for the rest of June if you want, because I promise you, the Israelis and the Americans, they cannot do that. They're just never they're phrase that was going around. If you remember when George Tenet and company, they kept saying this, it's a slam dunk, talking about bogus intelligence. The phrase that was going around this month was knockout blow. And these morons, and it's these people, they're all talking about we'll just, 4 days of bombing. We'll just give them that final knockout blow and Iran will collapse. You're fantasizing. You 4 days of bombing, they'll bomb you back for 40 days. They've got ballistic missiles for days, for weeks. You don't. I don't know how many interceptors. The ones they have don't really work anyway on this type of shot. So you cannot sustain this level of damage. And you cannot sustain the economic fallout, especially if they shut down the Red Sea traffic. So it's a really stupid move on Israel's behalf. That's probably why they're having an emergency cabinet meeting right now. But if I was Iran, I wouldn't let up. I would just wouldn't go all out, but I would just kind of sustain fire so that they have to stay in their air raid shelters and a big mass of the Israeli population. They're running to Ben Gurion. You see what they didn't hit? Ben Gurion. They let them leave. Let them depopulate. Those people aren't coming back.
That's a great point.
Another good point.
Sorry, go ahead. I was looking at whether Ben Gurion had been hit, and it actually hasn't been hit yet. So you're quite.
That's a great point.
Look, that's their reservists and stuff are going to Cyprus and Thailand. They're getting out of there because they don't want it.
Yeah,
and no, I don't blame them. Why do you want to die for Israel? You aren't going to benefit. Yeah,
that's a good point. Give them an exit that bleeds them dry from within.
That's right.
Then blow it up.
This is why you need one of these, Sully. This is such a cheers moment. So good.
Why would you do that, Ryan? Why would you do that? So,
because I got to get you to come back out here. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, I was planning to come, and then the war restarts. But I'm seeing that explosions are being reported over Jordan. Now, this could be interceptors because I do believe I'm just looking at it now. 1/3 was used in order to intercept. But this is a significant attacks. Anthony, if you were looking at this from a tactical perspective, one thing I wanted to discuss again is we mentioned in the previous episode, but we've got a much more larger audience now, is that the one of the missiles that were fired was a cruise missile from Navy ships.
Yes.
Apparently, the Navy ship is in the Mediterranean. What?
Yes.
First of all, what is it doing there? How can it strike from there? And then, as a response, what can Iran do to such a, like, for example, the Navy ship in the Mediterranean? Is there anything they can do?
Iran certainly has an armament within its missile repertoire that can certainly reach that without question. When you look at what Israel has in the Mediterranean, as I was mentioning earlier, they don't have a deep water, blue water navy. They have an inner waterway type navy. A lot of swift boats, like Iran has a few older frigates and destroyers that they've kind of made their own, but they don't have the big blue navy. So this cruise missile, if it were fired from the Mediterranean, that did reach the interior of Iran, I think it's one of these things that the U.S. did it, and then kind of saying because I think it's beyond the question now. Is the U.S. involved in all of this? We are. We're the other bank robber. The mask is off. We're the other dude in the bank. But to consider why, because Israel has to be able to show that, look, we still have stuff. We still got a little bit of David Sling. We still got a little bit of the aluminum dome. We still have some capability. We can still bite back. And it's in the U.S. interest to help them show that. So I don't know what Israel would have in their missile repertoire that could be sea launched, that could reach Iran from the Mediterranean. I know that the United States has a lot of assets in the Mediterranean, sea assets that could reach inland Iran. So I don't know what Israel would have that could reach that. I certainly know that Iran and Ansar Allah have things, and depending on what Hezbollah can get, can direct or get, there's potential to strike that. So if Israel is bringing its very limited navy, which they often only use to seize the Samud flotilla, that's basically the extent of what their navy has done, seized a bunch of activists and beat them up at sea. Could that navy be taken out? It could. I'm not sure what Israel has that could have fired from the Mediterranean seaborne that could have reached interior Iran. That seems a little sus.
Ryan?
Yeah, because if you can look at the Syrian conflict, they used to do a mixture of like Delilahs and Popeyes and glide bombs and things, and they couldn't even get to all the way across Syria with their air shots. So they have the Laura and the Gabriel, but that, off the top of my head, I don't think that has that distance. So they must have borrowed something from the U.S. or the U.S. is
because they've got in their Mediterranean fleet, if you want to call it that, of their Israeli Navy, they have 2 Corvette classes. Corvettes, the U.S. Navy doesn't even use those anymore. Those are old fast-moving frigates. The SAR class and the SAR 5 class, they have some missile boats, which are pretty small. Those aren't going to have anything that can reach. They do have the Dolphin class submarine.
Subs.
And then they have their fast patrol boats. I really don't see anything in their naval fleet in the Mediterranean that has anything that could reach all the way to not just the coast, but even inland Iran. Unless they've got something new that they're firing off that submarine. But the Dolphin class submarine, we're talking about a diesel electric attack. We're talking about your granddaddy's sub. I don't think that's going to have anything that's going to launch from it. So if they pulled something out, it's new. But is it possible that the United States did it and then gave Israel credit to show that, hey, they still got some bite? Kind of like your best friend dresses up as you to go take your exam because you didn't study. I don't know what they would have.
Do you think identical twins would do such a thing?
It's twins with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito, though.
Well, I have an identical twin, and we totally
Oh.
didn't do that.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
You didn't.
I just had
Sure.
this test. I know
Sure.
what's on it.
Sure. Yeah. So it's it's that. I mean, I just again, I don't see anything that I'm aware of in Israel's Mediterranean fleet, which is their only fleet, that has that reach.
So
Well, regardless, it's what Larry was saying earlier. You just look at the size and number of targets, and if you go tit for tat, Israel loses.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's also telling that they don't want to fly too close because guess what? Trump didn't obliterate all of the air defense, and they can shoot you down. They have to fire from the Mediterranean, or they have to fire from over top of Iraq because they can't.
They're still maintaining a lot of standoff. There is no. I think Pete Hegseth said, like on March 1st, that we already had air superiority and we quickly achieved air dominance. We can fly anywhere, all over, wherever we want. And then literally, I think that same day, an F-15 got shot down.
Then they lost refuelers and they lost more that were on the ground and an AWACS system.
A-10s. And just losing them all. It's like, and then I don't know. I haven't seen Pete Hegseth do one of his little 8 a.m. press conferences anymore. I think he's gotten too embarrassed.
8 a.m. is a little too early for tequila time.
Yeah, I think he held it together for the first couple weeks, thinking that Operation Epic Fury would last about 14 days, which was when he last had to check in with his sponsor, and then it just tanked from there. It just tanked. So Elton John got tired of hearing his shit.
So we're also seeing more hits at another settlement. This is Itamar settlement near Nablus as a result of the joint Iranian-Yemenis shelling. Is this intentional, Ryan, to target a number of these illegal settlements?
It certainly is satisfying. I can tell you that.
True.
But look, it's also a message like, no more. You're not going to be the colonist anymore. Like this bully has already, his nose is bleeding and he's backed up and everybody's watching him get his butt kicked. Israel, they wrote a check or they mouthed off more than the what could cash. I love it. These settlements are illegal. Military wise, I'm not sure what value they have, but then again, they do mix in military with civilian infrastructure sometimes, and Iran would know the target list better than I do. But it sure is satisfying seeing God's chosen lunatics get some comeuppance. The people that just bulldoze down a house or just move into someone's living room and kick them out. We saw earlier that Hebron had something. I don't know if that was targeted or if an interceptor hit something and then it's just the debris landed there. That could be the case as well. But
so
certainly
Itamar Ben Gvir lives in Kiryat Arba, which is the one of the settlements near Hebron. That would be poetic justice.
Well, yeah, that's true. Their leadership lived there, so that could be a reason. Take out their own house.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, man,
eye for an eye.
Just slightly unrelated, Ryan, but if you want to make a comment on this, we're seeing the South Korean and the Japanese market completely capitulate. Any thoughts?
Well, I mean, what did you expect? Like, it looks like the straits could all be closed for an indefinite number of days, so not going to go well over here. I imagine that's across the board. I think that's going to be the Philippines, Vietnam, everything, like, because they're very dependent on that maritime routes.
You think that Iran will shut the Strait of Hormuz again?
Why wouldn't they? I think they'll still, there's no reason to shut it off to their allies or people not involved in the war. But temporarily, you might have to if, to play maximum defense against the U.S. Navy. So, and look, guess who they're going to blame? They're not going to blame Iran for doing that. They're going to blame Israel for being the aggressor and attacking Beirut and starting the war again. Everything that, like, Iran has played this perfectly use their geography to their advantage, perfectly politically. They need to be able to, why don't they just preemptively strike? Why do they let them get all the chess pieces in place? Because it's more valuable to make them start it so that you have the moral high ground, so that you can explain that to your Asian partners and say, hey, we tried to negotiate and they keep attacking us, so we had to close. And that's understandable.
Yeah, when you're speaking to your Southeast and Asian allies, you say, what would you do? we were attacked. I mean, what we're just using our leverage. And then you look at that. Yeah, that's one of Iran's great weapons, or what they've brought to the table, is strategic patience. It's often lost on a lot of military commanders, especially our commander in chief. I don't think he knows any modicum of patience. But Iran has exercised strategic patience. Plenty of opportunities. It seemed like, why didn't they strike already? Because it's not just a matter of striking; it's striking at the right time to where it's in your advantage. And sometimes you got to take a couple blows, but they've exercised that quite well.
So, Ryan, question to you. So I mentioned Karun Mashar, the petrochemical company that was hit. That has now been confirmed, and it's been confirmed by the Secretary Deputy of the Khuzestan province. And he said the following quote: "A few minutes ago, Karun Mashar Petrochemical Company was subjected to an air attack and projectiles hit by the Zionist enemy, causing partial damage." That is major escalation. Would you consider that energy infrastructure? And do you then think that Iran is now going to be targeting energy infrastructure as well?
That's a very easy question. Like, if you look at their history, what do? They always mirror the response. And it's really stupid to go after petrochemicals, because look at the other side, it's far more vulnerable. And so, yes, Iran is going to do it the same thing back.
And when you say the other side is more vulnerable, do you mean Israel, or do you think they may attack the Gulf states as well?
I'm talking about all international Zionists, like, yes, the Gulf states as well, including Saudi Arabia and Jordan.
When you talk about the Gulf states, though, again, we need to look at how the strikes were conducted, whether any Gulf state airspace was used. But I mean, if you take what Larry says, it seems like the Gulf states want to try and stay out of this now. They're desperate to not be involved.
But they are involved.
Yeah,
Every
they kind of
time they
made their
act like
bed.
Qatar said, we're not going to let them use ours, and Kuwait, and then Saudi Arabia, remember, they're like, we're not going to let them use our airspace, and they did. So whatever, actions speak
Everyone
louder
wants
than
to
words.
bail when your team is losing.
Yes, now they want to call timeout.
Now they want to call timeout. That's right.
Exactly. You can't then slap somebody. They would like, hold on, timeout. Like,
Yeah.
no, you're gonna get it.
Um,
Oman's been the only one that's been actually neutral and did not allow any of their space, and Oman has not been hit.
Yeah, except for that false flag by Iran on Salalah port. But yeah, it was not hit at all by
The
Iran.
UAE did that.
Yeah, Israel did that.
Yeah, I think Oman played that quite well, where they made sure that in their meetings with the warden of the East, Iran, that they kissed the ring and bent the knee to know that, hey, when this kicks off again, we're good, right? Like we're good. And you've seen that Iran has. So in amidst this of shooting war, Iran continues to also demonstrate some political prowess in that if we make a promise with you, we're going to keep it. Look, we didn't trump you. We didn't say we weren't going to hit you and then did it. Like Oman's. I mean, think about all this stuff flying around Oman, and they're like, oh, we're okay.
The Switzerland of the Middle East.
That's what they're turning out to be.
Yeah,
and they will benefit in the long run. They'll be a partner on this maritime Silk Road toll.
Absolutely,
it's going to be both sides.
Yep. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yes.
They have been threatened by Trump to blow them up, though, right?
Yeah, they're in the Trump is going to obliterate us club.
That's hilarious.
We've been obliterated. We're going to go collect the dust.
Yeah. They're in a club together.
Do you think that people believe stuff when he says crazy things like that?
I think for some that are new to, I don't think Iran does anymore. Iran's like, we've heard it from this guy. Fucking.
You know what?
I think for Oman, it was like, oh shit.
There is someone dumb enough to believe that. His name's Dave Rubin. Apparently, he believes all of it. He didn't even know what the JCPOA was. He didn't know that Gaza was still being bombed. He's like, we got their hostages out. That was it. He's like, what do you mean? It's over. Like, no, Dave. No, it isn't.
The real sad thing about all this is that the absolute best that Trump can hope to get from this is that something that looks like close to as good as the JCPOA when it comes to the nuclear aspect, but then also in the hands that now on top of a horrible traitorous document, as he called it before he ripped it up and put it in the trash can, according to him. Now on top of going back to something that's going to look very much like that, but worse in terms of our interests, Iran will also now have this new taxation system on the Strait of Hormuz. So it's like, man, not only did you stepped in shit and then ate it. Like, what is wrong with you?
So we have some more breaking news. The first one is missiles have been launched from southern Lebanon towards Israel. That the firing of
missiles or rockets?
Rockets. News reports that reports the firing of several rockets from southern Lebanon towards Israeli positions right now. In addition to that, we do have a statement from the IRGC who say, quote, bombing our cities and targeting our land is a red line, and the Revolutionary Guard will not hesitate to crush any source that threatens the security of the Iranian people. If the Zionist enemy dares to retaliate or commit new foolishness, our next operations will be more severe, wider in scope, and we will target all vital infrastructure of the entity. We warn the American administration and the regime supporting the occupation against intervention, and we affirm that any land or airspace open for aggression against Iran will make its owners a direct target for our strikes. So that kind of answers the question that we were talking about, right?
Yes. And it's so much more elegant than Trump's Truth Social. We're going to effing blow the heck out of these B word, silly B word effers, MFers, whatever. That's, but I mean, they just took him to a choke slam through the Spanish announce table and said, knock it off. It's saying it is giving them a bit of reprieve. It seems like the next one will be worse. So is this one done? Is this one complete? That's what it sounded like.
Yeah, true. It could be, hey, we're done with this round. Just stop. Or next time. Yeah, could be signaling that this round is done. Are we gonna stop now?
Do you think Israel stops though?
No.
No, because like, listen,
I don't think they
rockets were just fired from Lebanon, right? So they're going to respond to that, and they're going to do what they always do with overkill and make it. They're gonna shoot civilians, and Iran's gonna go, oh, looks like you want some more, huh?
Hezbollah fires rockets. Israel bombs Gaza.
Yeah.
That's
now the reason I ask do you think Israel will respond is because I am reading a few Israeli journalists who keep saying nothing got hit. So could this be a way to get out of the situation where they pretend like nothing got hit and then therefore, look, it's over?
Well, what is the smoke coming up? Like, it's visual. Like, what is that, all AI? Is that what that is?
Nothing got hit.
So that one,
I understand what you mean. They want some face-saving way to be like, things did get hit. We're just going to say they didn't, and let's call a truce.
Yeah.
The thing is, the people there know that things got hit. And like, why do I have to run to the air raid shelter every time if you guys are just intercepting them, right? Because they're not. Now, I think they will intercept some of these rockets, but the rocket fire is just going to eat up whatever defense they have left. It's the missiles that have the payload, the one that does the most damage.
Yeah.
But rockets and drones are cheap. It doesn't cost Lebanon very much to fire those. But it's interesting because they have been fighting inside southern Lebanon. Now they're on the offense, and Israel has to defend themselves from rockets in Israel, all in one day.
And it seems like that the latest round of rocket fire from Hezbollah, from the way it sounded, is that's kind of a tactical exchange on the front lines of where the IDF are kind of arrayed along the border. So I don't know if those are going deep. I think those are specifically hitting IDF positions.
Yeah, I bet you anything
near
it's
the border.
grounds.
Yes, absolutely. So they've identified their staging areas and hit them with some rockets. So then when they start moving, you bring in the thermal FPV wire guided drones.
Yeah.
Which you don't even hear coming.
And we are seeing reports of possible explosions in Tel Aviv as well. So there are reports of explosions in Tel Aviv Again, we won't get visuals of them because there's a huge amount of censorship about information that's getting out. Apparently, the Israelis are going to, I mean, we mentioned this earlier, but the more confirmation that the Israelis are going to have a cabinet meeting at 11 a.m. Israel time, which is in about 3.5 hours. But they were expecting this, right? They were expecting this, so the plan becomes, what's the retaliation going to be? Trump's kind of staying out of this in a way, but obviously he can't stay out of it. I mean,
well, he's not awake yet. So
Yeah.
once they wake him up and they slap his MAGA hat on him and roll him out in front of the microphone, we'll see what the response is. I think that Donald Trump there's no reason to wake him up. They can wait till morning for the all caps Truth Social bombardment.
But he was awake, right, when the strike started, because he put out a Truth Social post about California. I think, was it?
Yeah, I'm being somewhat facetious.
Yeah, no, I know you were. I know you were. But my point
in
is,
terms of awake and mentally aware are two different things.
True. And I guess the reason I'm asking that is because essentially,
I mean, he is 80.
yeah. No, because the reason I'm asking that is because he's kind of still remaining quiet. I'm looking at the futures market. It is increased a bit, but it's not like this significant blowout you would expect from the war restarting, if that makes sense. What do you think, Ryan?
Well,
yeah, maybe. I think there's still hope, maybe, within the market and other factions that think that the latest message before Donald Trump went on the tangent of the California elections, that he's close to the deal, that Iran, this exchange is not going to derail the negotiations. Yeah, I think maybe some are that there's that modicum of hope on that. I think that ship has sailed.
Ryan,
I mean,
the last thing he said to BB on the phone,
clearly over.
And then he goes to bed. He's going to wake up to this mess.
But Ryan,
and then he'll call Mark Levine to ask for an update.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Mark Levine put out a tweet essentially saying that America had betrayed Israel, right? So he wasn't happy about a lot of the decisions that were happening yesterday. But Ryan, what's your thoughts on that?
I don't care what Mark Levine says. The guy's a moron. But yeah, he's kind of.
I mean,
he'll say anything short of "Why don't Americans die for Israel?" is betraying Israel. Like, we don't owe you anything. This is your war. You bombed Beirut. You bombed Iran. You made your bed. You sleep in it. It's not America's responsibility to come. Our military is supposed to defend the Constitution and the homeland. It's not supposed to be used as a toy thrown into foreign conflicts. I agree with Washington's passionate detachment. What happened to the Trump Roe doctrine, right? The old Monroe doctrine. No, they're not making Fortress America because Israel is going to drag you into more conflicts in the Middle East, as they've been doing my whole life.
What we've done in this administration thus far is quite the exact opposite of the Monroe doctrine. So if the Don Roe doctrine is to do the complete polar opposite of the Monroe doctrine, and get into never-ending wars and stick our noses in things that are not our business, which is the antithesis of what Monroe stated, then I guess you could call that this is the Monroe doctrine. But if the intent is the rebirth of the Monroe with the Donald Trump twist, we're way off target. We're in the wrong hemisphere.
Yeah, true. That's true.
You got lost along the way.
Yeah. I guess the other element of this is, Ryan, in terms of this possible deal, I mean, there is claims from Iran that Trump's had it on his desk for 20 days. And they've grown frustrated with him, the fact that it's not being signed or not being agreed upon. The view was that something may have been signed in the next few days. What's your thoughts on that? And whether, what's your thoughts on that?
I believe the 20 days part, but he was recently saying he wasn't even going to unfreeze assets. That's the easiest part of the 14 points is unfreeze assets. Mm-hmm. He wouldn't do that. And the other thing is, when they're talking about security guarantees, well, what would entail a guarantee? Actions. Like, take your strike group and move out of the Gulf of Oman and go back to the Atlantic or somewhere else. If you're going to, they did, I think the Boxer turned around or whatever, but if there aren't any concrete signs that you're not trying to escalate and restart a war, then there's no reason they're going to give up their leverage and reopen the strait or deal with uranium or any of the U.S. demands. There's no reason to. They said, knock it off in Lebanon, remove your footprint from the Gulf, lift sanctions, and unfreeze assets. And then later we'll negotiate about uranium, and later we'll negotiate about opening the strait, whether the toll or not or whatever. But the initial like primary demands were the things I just said, and they didn't do any of those. You could have incremented that in steps, like, all right, we'll unfreeze some assets. Because you can just freeze them again, like we'll unfreeze some that. We'll lift these sanctions and not those, whatever. You could have, well, all right, we'll take we'll get this carrier and put it back wherever. But they did none of that. Well, the Iran doesn't have anything incremental to do. It's like the strait is closed or it's not. It's like, look, this is our leverage. We're not letting go of this till we see you, because you always say a lot, but you don't follow up on it. So we want some kind of, we want this in writing with none of this verbal stuff. We don't want to talk to Witkoff and Kushner. Vance, he wasn't really in charge. He's on the phone with BB. So whatever you want to say that this is going to be the deal, you have to put it in writing. And we want some security. You want the UN or some authority to back this up. And there's got to be some actionable things to point to. Okay, your boats are no longer here. Okay, you took these amount of troops out of this base that's breathing down our neck. Those are the kind of steps you need to see. And if we had diplomats, which we don't, if we had real statesmen, which we used to have, and we have but don't use, if you're going to send real estate agents down there, some Zionists like boogeymen, then there's nothing serious, so there's no deal. But I think Iran was holding out like, here's our points, we're not budging, this is what you have to do, you lost, this is what you have to do. And they're waiting out like, okay, well, every day the strait's closed, we'll get closer to a deal, because they're going to get more and more desperate to get it open, and the only way to get it open is to comply with our demands. Then Israel's like, we can't have a deal, so they attack. Well, how'd that work out? Not very well. So listen, now could there be a deal? Well, Trump's going to have to wake up and take some kind of action. He said, listen, the easiest thing they could do is unfreeze some assets. That could be done like that. They're not doing it. So I'm not going to take it seriously until I see action, because their credibility is dead. It's a negative number. Whatever they say is like, sure, Dick. Like, do something. Don't just talk about it. Well, it's the flip side. Everything Iran has promised to do is done. So you've got a partner that you could negotiate with. They do have they sent all these scholars, PhDs and things to Pakistan. And what did the U.S. send? Some, fraudsters, failed real estate tycoons, insider traders, bunch of criminals. You don't want to talk to these people. We don't have a James Baker or Scrokoff or anything, like nothing like that. We don't have even a McFarlane level, like nothing. There's no adults in the room on the Zion. You can't talk to the Israelis at all, right? So even your mediators are like, what are we supposed to say here? You're lying to us. There one time they did this mob type thing where they gave out 2 scripts and said Iran's agreed to the deal, because what they showed them and what they showed the other side were 2 different papers.
Yeah.
It's really it's embarrassing. It's childish. The stunts they're pulling, like, did we really just do that? Did he really just write that on Truth Social? Oh, it's like, somebody commit this person. Put him in a happy farm, whatever. Tell him, yeah, you're so great and handsome and awesome. Like, let him watch some AI videos of himself in a room somewhere and put an adult in charge. But then I'm looking down the line like, well, who would that be? There's not a lot of people on the bench that you can replace him with, because Adelson picked the cabinet and the Israelis picked a bunch of weirdos, a bunch of like end timers. Mike Huckabee, who said dinosaur bones were put here by Satan to fool the scientists. You're not dealing with grown-ups. Hegseth Patel, come on. And Bondi before that, and she's back in the administration again. Kushner, Witkoff worked with the New York Mafia openly. Eitan Wertheimer in Israel too, and that whole faction there with Bob Labudi and Tony Salerno and these guys, they're all work like. I can't even, like, I can't believe these people. You've got Lutnick and a bunch of Epstein clients in your cabinet.
Exactly.
At least in the UK and other places, they started investigating these people. Mandelson had to step down. Prince Andrew got sued. But in America, they're just like, yeah, oh, it's a Democrat hoax. No, it's not. You had an international pedophile ring. A bunch of these PDF files, a bunch of these goobers were involved. And, they're still in high-level positions in the cabinet. Lutnick did a rug pull on reinsurance companies after September 11th. Like, it's just unabashed criminals in your face. He pardoned a bunch of criminals. So did Biden, by the way. It's not a partisan thing. And yeah, like, gone are the days of the statesman. We'll never have, and it just got incrementally worse from Reagan to now. Anybody would give anything to have Reagan back, even if they hated him. This is way better than now. It doesn't get, even Clinton's looking better compared to like Obama and Biden and Trump. It just, I don't think we can be at a point lower. This is official U.S. history. We're just talking about Monroe. I think we mentioned Madison and Jefferson earlier. And I mentioned Washington. Think about that crap, guys. And then someone's got, in U.S. history, is going to have to write that the President of the United States said, "Open the effing straight, you crazy B words, Allah Akbar," or whatever he ended with. I mean, that's the President of the United States. And I thought, oh, that's funny. But then I look and I go, oh no.
Can you imagine, like, when they carved the Gettysburg Address into Lincoln Memorial, the person that's going to have to carve that one day into some monument?
That's crazy.
Oh yeah.
We've got some breaking news as well, which is we've got some visuals now of significant damage to houses and impact areas in basically Jerusalem area, west of Jerusalem. And the IGC has made a number of statements, and this time they said they targeted Nevatim and Tel Nof air bases in Israel in response to Israeli strikes on radar sites in Iran. Anthony, what's your thoughts on that? The fact that they targeted Nevatim and Tel Nof air bases. If you can elaborate and illuminate about that.
Yeah, and also if you're looking at the kind of the rhetoric, within the last 20 minutes coming from Fox News and American West, it's Tehran launches attack, Israel defends itself. Just the complete manipulation of these things. So striking these airfields, right now I think that the air war isn't dead. There's potentialities in the air war of assaults or attacks. Airfields, I think, are going to become key terrain depending on what either side attempts to achieve in the next level of escalation. At some point, whether we're going to just continue this tit for tat of missiles and missiles and missiles and missiles and missiles and missiles, which to what end? At some point, you look at airfields in terms of taking away those resources, so things can no longer be fired, flown, or shot, or sent. But then where to stage forces, because this is going to quickly become a geography game because of these distances involved. So airfields and remember last time we were talking about with Ray, locks, lines of communication and supply.
Yeah.
So you've got A locks and G locks. You got your air lines of communication and supply. You got your ground lines of communication and supply. In this war, the A locks have become very critical. So I think we're going to see, as these increase, strikes. And again, something that Ryan brought up about Ben Gurion Airport. That was something that I didn't really consider. That why aren't they striking the airport with all the assets there? But it's savvy. Give them a way out. Give it so people can leave, because then you're draining that resource of their shield of the population, right? But you're also taking.
It's the Golden Bridge strategy the Mongols used to leave. They'll give you one retreat. They actually they did that to ISIS. Assad did that when he was winning. He would allow a retreat route all toward Idlib. to get them out of the
That's
other
right.
areas, let them go there,
Yep.
let them go there. Early Ukraine, they did that. Russia did that to get them out of Donbass, and it worked for a little while.
Yeah.
They're fighting like Asians now. Well, I guess they are Asian. They're in Asia Minor. So.
Yeah, they are. They are.
You know what I mean?
The Middle East is not a thing. That's some British teetotaler. But
well,
when you look
Asia is both. There's geographic Asia and there's ethnic Asia, and that's what.
That's right.
But, yeah.
Yeah. So why this the retaliation or the strikings or the potential targeting of airfields and air bases is again to you want to start. I think this continues to escalate. I don't think that this is the last the last tit or tat. I think there's going to be a few more. So then
there's
really have
visual
to start...
confirmation in Nablus. By the way, I just saw the clouds of smoke coming up from the military base there. Can't hide it.
And there's also a visual of I think we're looking at the same thing. Yeah, more footage of actual successful strikes. So the Israelis can't even pretend that there was no successful strikes, right? But also the Israelis did say,
according to Israel hasn't been struck once yet.
Yeah, true. Yeah. But according to the Israelis, they are saying that they plan to continue this on for several days. So this is going to be a long onslaught, right?
They were talking about the 4-day knockout blow. I don't know whether they just pulled that number out of a hat or what, but that is what they were saying.
Yeah.
It might be right, but they're the ones getting knocked out.
It's a punch to their own face.
Exactly. So guys, if you're listening on YouTube, you need to be subscribed to the channel. You need to have your notifications on. You need to be liking this video as well. I think this might be the first video where live during the stream. Yeah, we did. We got over 1,000 likes, so I appreciate that. And so guys, make sure you're doing that. Now, we are going to be wrapping up. So thanks to Ryan and Anthony for taking the time out to join us. I know, Anthony, we're going to get you back on tomorrow for sure. It's the war started now, Anthony. We can't let you go. And Ryan as well, if you're free. But Ryan's a busy man, but we'll try and get him in as well.
I got another show, and because I was just launched this RFK movie, stupid me, because here comes the big Iran war. But it was on the anniversary, it was on the 5th, and that's the same as USS Liberty. I thought, his son's in office. Let's knock this one out. So I just started that, but I was on a show to do that, but I think I'm going to end up, they're going to ask me about Iran the whole time.
Of course.
Okay.
But it's the news now, right?
Yeah, your movie's going to get...
For sure.
So look, if the Kennedy story had broken back then, we wouldn't be in this mess because why both of them were targeted.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and very much linked to this, and this is why we're here, and why this war is happening. And if that hadn't happened, there would be no war. It's a very important movie that Ryan is releasing. But thank you to Anthony. Thank you to Ryan. Guys, if you're on the YouTube, make sure you like this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, have your notifications on, because I'm not scheduled yet, but we're going to be back tomorrow immediately when the kinetic aspect of the war restarts. So let's get that on. Make sure you guys come to it. So like, comment, and subscribe, and have your notifications on. So I want to thank Ryan again. I want to thank Anthony again. Really appreciate you. And Larry as well, who was on early.
Good to meet you, Anthony.
Pleasure, Ryan. And I think we've exchanged some emails, but Sully, if you can please send Ryan my number.
I will do.
Because we were gonna line something up down the road when he's got a little more time.
Definitely, we'll do that. I'm do that straight after this. Well, straight after I finish the space. But appreciate both of you guys. Thank you so much for joining, guys. If you're on the YouTube, appreciate you guys. We're gonna be back tomorrow. It's gonna be early. Have your notifications on because I haven't scheduled it at the moment. There's an interview scheduled at 3 p.m. Eastern, but we may start earlier because of the breaking news. But much love to everyone on YouTube. X, we're gonna continue just for a bit longer. But much love to everyone on YouTube. Appreciate you guys joining in. Appreciate you guys listening. And for sure.